Hello, and well, good evening to you all. On this very, very stormy day, now I can't speak for the rest of the country, but this morning I saw not one but two planes having to abort their landing into Manchester and do a go around, which they do. They came over the house quite low. So, if you're out and about, everyone, please take care of yourselves. And the theme for this message today does have to do with the time of year. But in this house, there is a ban on anything remotely related to the festive season. As far as I'm concerned, there's been concerned, two Christmases, Halloween, Coronation, all of that just hasn't happened. And I won't acknowledge them until my children come home. However, I will acknowledge that this as the time of year when to celebrate the birth of Christ. Now, as children, when we didn't have any plays at school or went out singing Christmas carols, we couldn't have imagined that we would one day share a common bond with Jesus as earthly parents and families across the territory we now know today as the Holy Land. We're fighting tyrannical leaders who seek to kidnap and destroy our children. Now, if you're to approach a police officer or a social worker today and draw a comparison between them and King Herod's soldiers, their responses, I suspect, would range from indifference through denial to phoning the police or King Herod's hired muscle, and bleating about malicious communications. They might even have the nerve to argue that they're following the law, a sentiment I've little doubt used by King Herod's soldiers to justify the slaughter. While it's true that about the only biblical account of that infanticide was in Matthew's Gospel, there's no doubt that King Herod did order the murder of his own sons, whom he thought were a threat to his rule, and as his own life drew to a close, he ordered the slaughter of his own citizens to ensure there would be mourning in the land when he actually died. Now, although I would describe myself as a Christian, I am not endeavouring to impose my faith on any of you. However, at a time when the war we should never have had to fight approaches the date which marks Christ's birthday, it could be argued that we all need a faith of some sort, something to believe in, a sort of hope. Because unlike even in the Great War, we're not facing an adversary who will suggest a Christmas truce, the sharing of rations, gossip, and maybe even a soccer match. Our adversaries won't even suggest a flag of truce if our children are in hospital, or ill, or in the event of a death. We won't even be notified of a death, and we'll be denied a chance or the right to attend a funeral. Why? Because we're fighting an enemy that is devoid of humanity. So at a time when those of us who attend church and listen to the Christmas story being read from the lectern and discussed from the pulpit, and we're urged to hear the word of God and make it a part of our lives every day throughout the year, what can we take from that? Again, I believe it's important to remember that at the time of Jesus' birth, a tyrannical and evil leader believed that this baby would bring about his downfall. This paranoia resulted in the slaughter of thousands of innocent children. And for us parents fighting a similar evil, we can't count on chronic kidney failure and what sounds like Fournier's gangrene to strike down those who hurt our children. Those of us in this fight, fathers and mothers, regardless of whether or not we have a faith, we don't have the luxury of setting aside the messages from church pulpits to heed the word of God. We can't pack that advice up in January along with the decorations. Now, personally, I can take some comfort in the belief that what I do on this platform is God's work. And I have to believe that, because without it, without that faith, without that conviction, what reason do I have for living? Now, I'm not alone. While not everyone who makes these kinds of videos necessarily believes in God, it can be argued, without being arrogant, that we are in fact doing his work. Lottie the Feminine House Bunny, Dad's Matter, Channikins, that CMS guy, Madison on the Anti-Alienation Project, Chuck on Why Daddy Never Cries. Some time ago, a child who has been denied a relationship with her father because of lies asked me, did I think God was mad at her for lying about her father when she was made to? Well, to that I am going to go to, I believe that Matthew chapter 18 verse 6 has the answer to that. Because while Jesus, what you have to remember is that while Jesus was willing to forgive those who betrayed him, those who had him crucified, he was unequivocal in his condemnation of those who hurt children. In Matthew chapter 18 verse 6, I believe it was, he said, if anyone should cause one of these little ones to stumble, those who believe in me, it would be better to have a millstone tied around their neck and they be thrown into the deepest part of the sea. This is not the only passage in the Bible in which the importance of nurturing our children is mentioned. In St. Paul's letter to the Colossians, he said, fathers, do not embitcher your children, or they will become discouraged. In Proverbs chapter 19, verse 18, do not be a willing party to their death. Proverbs 22, verse 6, start the children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not deviate from it. In the past, I've cited Ecclesiastes, a time for peace and a time for war. In another part of Ecclesiastes, they talk about the place of judgment. Wickedness was there. In a place of justice, wickedness was there. God will bring judgment to the wicked. And perhaps most crucially of all, considering what we do, in Ephesians chapter 5 verse 11, St. Paul writes, have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. As combative as this video might seem, it's important to remember as well that this is known as the season of peace and goodwill. Now, given Jesus' views on those who hurt children, I feel justified in drawing the line at police and social services. However, the war we shouldn't have to fight is waged because we love our children. And I do want, however, at this time, to take this time to thank friends and family for their support, and to pay tribute to my fellow content creators working so tirelessly to raise awareness of these issues and support others going through the same ordeal, not just the fathers and mothers. And in particular, I want to pay tribute to my own family, to my father, without whom I couldn't have afforded to hire a lawyer like Samara when I was fighting round one, to my cousins for their constant support, to my mother, who continues to fight despite 3 heart attacks, and today the news that she was suffering from is Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, also known as broken heart syndrome. To certain friends I've come to know because of these videos, and in particular the ones who organised the birthday celebration for my darling little Millsbomb, my thanks and my gratitude are eternal. But most important of all to me, I'm using this platform to say to my children, to SGF, Millsbomb, my boy Jack, I love you more than you will ever know, and it breaks my heart not being with you. So good night to all of you, and God bless.